You're watching and listening to Heart with Saima, the podcast show for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Saima Dillon, your host. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Let's dive right in. Nesa Grider, I'm not going to go into a lengthy introduction. Her motto is change a child, change a family, change the community, providing a shelter for teenage children from the ages of 14 to 19. I think that right there is a very strong introduction. She's out there changing lives, and I wanted to bring her on as a special edition, especially because the children's shelter has been impacted by the snowstorm that recently impacted us, and I wanted to give her this platform as a special edition since we were booked all the way through April. And I wanted to bring her on a Sunday and give her this exposure and this platform to be able to share her journey, what she does. So without waiting any more, let me bring Anisa. Hello, Anisa. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Like I said earlier, that I didn't need to give you a very long introduction. I wanted to just bring you on. I think right there, what you're doing, providing a shelter for teenage children who, because of whatever reason, might be looking for a place to either temporarily call home or use as a transition place, use as a place to heal. Having two teenagers myself, I think, it's just so plausible what you're doing. And I'm going to give this over to you so that you can give an introduction and tell us about your journey and tell us how you got involved in this shelter for teenagers. And so here you go.
Well, thank you. Actually, I've always been a proponent of community service, and, it was never my intent to do this full time. I have a real estate background, and my intent was to kind of do that the rest of my life. And by happenstance, I really think that God put me in this position and led me to do this, and really kind of felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and brought me to Journey to Dream. I actually started there as the development officer, and the founder, Kim Hinkle, saw something in me, and as she transitioned out of the CEO position, asked me to step into that role. And for the last 3 years have been shepherding the team there, and have really kind of found our place in providing to these kids a transitional shelter. And what we do is we reach out to a population of kids that are at risk and need a place to find shelter and hope in their journey. And what a lot of people don't understand is there is a huge population of homeless kids, at risk kids in our own community. And a lot of people don't understand that because these kids are not on the streets with signs, and are just really a population that is hidden in plain sight. And so a lot of times they're invisible, or they're a forgotten population. And so what we are really trying to do is bring them in the forefront so they can get additional support, and really shine a light on this population.
Tell us exactly what the shelter does.
We are a transitional shelter that's, like I said, serves a population 14 to 19. And what we do is we not only provide shelter for them, but all the life skills. It's food, shelter, basic cares, medical, transportation, academics. What we are trying to do is give them a sense of a home life, the basic needs of why you take a shower, why you brush your teeth, counseling. What we're trying to do is transition them into an independent living situation. We obviously would love for them to transition back to a normal family situation. A lot of times that may or may not happen, but we would love to transition them into an independent living situation. We have some wonderful success stories where kids go on to college or the military or into an independent apartment living situation. And that's really what our goal is to move them into an independent adult living situation. So we want to really groom them into those situations and give them some solid life living skills.
Um, Nisa, what condition do you either find these children in, and do these children come to your shelter, or you hear about them and you reach out to them? How does the process work?
Every situation is really different. Sometimes they come through us through the court system, through DPS, DFPS, through caseworkers. Sometimes they come to our front door through the school system. Every situation is really different. For example, a couple nights ago, we did have a young lady come to our door. One of our staff workers told us that a young lady came to our door. She was crying. She was having some trouble at home. So every situation is really different. There's really no situation that is just the norm. We see teenagers come from all walks of life that are just really struggling, especially now with COVID. We just see such mental health issues and really challenges that teenagers are struggling with. So there's just not a normal situation.
Is there a consistent pattern that you might see? Because I know you told me currently you have 14 children.
Yeah.
Is there a similar pattern that you see that some aspects of what they might be experiencing or going through, or PTSD or trauma or abuse? Is there something which might be consistent throughout the children who leave their homes and walk into a shelter?
There's really not. Like I said, there is no true pattern. All of our kids that are in our shelter have experienced some sort of trauma, but there's just really no common thread. Each one of them have experienced some kind of trauma or some kind of uh, just negative experience in their life. And we try to address that on an individual basis and work with those kids to kind of either work through that trauma or cope with it or give them some skills so they can navigate through that. We work with them on an individual basis. They all receive counseling and try to just understand the things that they have gone through and try to work with them. And the most important thing is, like I said, we absolutely want to give them those life skills, but the most important thing to me is for them to understand that they are loved unconditionally when they are in this shelter, in this facility, and know that they are loved unconditionally regardless of what their background. A lot of times they are void of that. They're void of that emotion, and that's the most important thing for me is to know that the second that they walked in that door is they are respected, and they're loved unconditionally.
And that right there, I think, it's such a essence of life for everyone, that unconditional love. And it's so crazy that everyone seems to be seeking that. I think that's such a common kind of denominator, where everyone is seeking that unconditional love. Yet most parents or people are not able to understand the essence of that unconditional love, and I mean, not able to give it I know that for myself as a mom, I have gone through my own turbulent journey with my kids, where, especially with my older daughter, where yes, the love was there, but it was not unconditional love because it was attached to a lot of expectations and conditions. And I ended up, I think, just putting so much burden on my daughter. Do you feel that that is something you feel parents do a lot, and that's something that causes the child to kind of lose their balance?
I think that everyone gets caught in that trap, and I think it's easy to do. And I think it's based on your environment and how you were raised. But I do think that's an easy trap to get caught in. And I even think as workers in the facility, we get caught in that trap. And, I've found myself bringing that to the table myself just from my family. I always talk to my team as, we're a family and we should treat these kids as we would treat our own. But I quickly find that, we can't do that because, they're not used to that, and we can't set the same expectations for them as we would set for our own family because they weren't raised like that, and they don't have the same concepts that we had for our families because they weren't raised with those same foundations. And so we have to navigate that pretty gingerly. So yeah, I think we can all get caught in that trap pretty easily because not everybody has that same foundation. So yeah, I find myself in those same traps, and it's pretty easy to get uh,
Yeah.
caught up in that pretty quickly.
I think, even for our own children, and again, not speaking for anyone else, I always like to, speak for myself and pinpoint my own mistakes and my own, weaknesses, and the things that I, unintentionally,
Yeah.
but the things that I've done wrong in my life, and the impact of the choices at that given point in time, and the repercussions, and but I, like they say, right, parenthood does not come with a manual,
Absolutely.
and life does not come with a manual. And I think, as we just move along in this journey of life, where a lot of things might not make sense to us, we just evolve. And I feel self-reflection is just very important in life, to self-reflect, and not to worry about others. Worry about yourself. Fix yourself. I don't pay a lot of attention to what other people are doing and their mistakes, because I feel, there's uh, so many screw ups in my own life, that I would rather just focus on them, and try to figure out the right way to life.
Well, and it's, we, like I always tell every resident that comes in our facility is we absolutely want them to learn necessary life skills, and we want them to read a recipe and write a resume and do all the life skills that they need to know. But when they leave us, and we want them to leave us because that's our goal, is I try to meet them when they leave and tell them goodbye. But I always ask the same question: is what is the number one thing that you learned every day? And I want them to answer that they felt loved and they felt respected. And sometimes I get that answer and sometimes I don't. Sometimes they just look at me like, "What are you talking about?" But for the most part, I get that answer. And if I get that, then I feel like, that we've won, that we can put a win, put that in the win column. And that's really what I hope to hear from them. And so that's really what I mean by loving them unconditionally. So that kind of, to me, that feels like we've really done our job. and that we've impacted that child and changed that child. So to me, that's the change that I'm really looking for.
You said such a key word. You said the child wants the unconditional love, and part of unconditional love is they want to feel respected. Um, I can tell you, Nisa, that being from the Southeast Asian culture, I'm originally from Pakistan, and what I have seen is that parents generally have this mindset that however I treat you or whatever I expect from you, I mean, you have come into this world to fall within those parameters and within a certain framework, and those are the expectations whether it comes to career or it comes to love or it comes to your life partner. There are just so many expectations which Asian parents have from their children. And I think that right there, perhaps when you are living in Asia, maybe it might work a bit better. But what I'm discovering in life is that my generation, or perhaps the generations before, we were a byproduct of our parents' expectations, our families' expectations, friends around us. So we were a byproduct of that. And then one fine day that realization hits you, and it generally hits you in your 40s, where you are like, oh my god, I don't recognize this person that I see, and this person, I don't resonate with this person, and I'm not who I see here. And that's when this crisis starts, and then you start trying to figure out your true identity.
Mhm.
And if you're fortunate, you're able to slowly build up and turn into the person that you were meant to be, because we are all different people in this world with different individual personalities and characteristics. And I think we have come into this world to be who we are.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we would just be someone different, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I think we're all here for a purpose. There's no doubt about that.
and to be who we are. And I think that right there is something that I'm seeing, that in teenagers today, they are the journey of the teenagers right now. It's very turbulent. And it seems like my daughter says, my 19-year-old says that, yes, mom, but we are going through that midlife crisis in our teens.
Yeah.
We're trying to find ourselves as teenagers, not waiting for that to kick in,
Yeah.
in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah. Well, and we work hard to still set boundaries, and we do, have expectations for our teenagers in the facilities, and really try to guide them. And again, these kids have gone through some trauma that no people should ever go through. So we really try to guide them and give them some tools to work through that, and really offer them some boundaries, but give them flexibility to kind of work through that and go through that turbulence. But it's hard. It's hard for everyone to go through that. But again, it's kind of that tough love situation that you've got to find those boundaries and love them enough to kind of let them fall down, but be able to pick them up and dust them off and let them find their ways. And I would like to tell you that we do it right every single time, but it's like a parent. You just don't do it. But I think if you can let them know that even when you're wrong, that you love them, and you just want to do what's best for them. That's all you can do. And that's kind of how I look at it. Is I would like to tell you that I do it right every single day. I don't. But when I do it wrong with love, and pray for forgiveness and just dust them off and move them on. And like I said, if we can change them and give them an opportunity to be a successful adult, that's what I pray for every single day. And I just know what kind of life they had, and I just pray that we can give them the best life and let them move forward. And I know it sounds so strange, is if you can change that child, then you will change their family. And I know as a whole we can change that community, and that's what really makes a difference to me, is just changing the impact of the whole community, which will, it affects all of us.
Children who have been traumatized, who have been molested, sexually abused. Um, I just think that there is just no worse crime than that. Because right there, that no child should ever have to go through molestation or sexual abuse. But we understand that predators come in all shapes, forms. For myself, growing up in Pakistan, I mean, it was that generation where uh, we could not talk to our parents about that because it was like such a taboo thing. And so, like, parents would not discuss sexuality or sex or some of these topics with the children. So you had to kind of just stumble upon these subjects and try to especially if you're under a certain age and teachers, tutors, neighbors, these people being under a certain age where you feel that these people in your life are a safe place for you, where you are in that environment and you're supposed to be safe, and then they are not. And you go to check on friends and you go in and there are predators in different forms waiting to, I mean, the exposure that you get, you're exposed to predators in all shapes, forms, all around you, in the form of relatives, family members. I mean, that right there is such a burden on children. I mean, I'm glad that this generation, at least being in the US, I know that being part of for my kids, the US schooling, where, they sex is discussed at a much younger age, where children are taught that, what, your body is very private. It's your say, it's, kind of like, it needs to be, you need to feel safe. You don't let anyone touch you. I mean, this is something that is just lacking. And it's, how do you protect children from this?
Well, I would love to tell you that it's easy. It is not. And even though it is an ongoing conversation, it still occurs. And sadly, it occurs with family members and people that these kids typically know. I mean, the statistics show that it is usually either a family member or someone that the family knows. And a good portion of the teenagers that we see that have had an incident that is sexual in nature is someone that has been known to the family or has been a family member, and it's someone that is trusted, and that is a trusted family member. And it is very sad because it's not something that just goes away. They deal with this for the rest of their life, and it is definitely an impact to their psyche. So it's a long term uh, it's a long-term psychological impact that they deal with. And so it is, they just don't realize what they do to their the mental impact for the rest of their life. It's I'm sorry that I'm stumbling, but I'm like you. It is just it's devastating to think about this, and it's horrific. And I see it every single day. The way that they react, the way that it changes their lives, and it's just. And like I said, I know it's an open conversation, but I don't think that people realize how it changes the trajectory of someone's life and the way that they react to just the small things in life, and how it really kind of pushes them back socially and academically, and how it just changes everything that that person does.
And unfortunately, I mean, as sad as that is, and as difficult as that is, but unfortunately, I don't know if there are any solutions, because if it's coming from someone that you know, as vigilant as you might be as parents, but it might not be something that can be avoided. And at that point, I guess you just hope for the best. And like you said, if those children come to you, and you hope you can help build them emotionally and psychologically enough to a point where they are ready to go out in the world, not as not damaged emotionally, but they are secure and strong enough to be able to handle it, and to be able to call it out, and to be able to stop it from happening again, because that right there will change the next generation coming through.
Yeah, and for a long time I thought we were just going to fix all of this. And quickly I learned we're not going to unwind any of this. What we're going to do is provide coping skills and the ability to cope and redirect and learn how to navigate the trauma. And that's really what I'm hoping for, is to be able to give them the skills to navigate the trauma that they have had. I absolutely wish we could rewire everything so they could just unwind everything that's happened. And I know that we can't do that, but what we can do is give them the coping skills to kind of navigate through everything that's happened to them in their lives.
Your shelter, how many kids can you accommodate?
Right now we have 14 beds. We have 7 males and 7 females. God willing, we are going to expand. We are planning to build new facilities. That's on our forefront. We are getting ready to launch a capital campaign, so we're super excited about that. There are so many homeless youth that need our support. So we are looking forward to doing that. Our plan was to do that last year, and then the pandemic came. So we are looking to do that pretty quickly, because there is quite a few homeless youth that are in need of support. So that is on our calendar for 2021 and 2022.
Um, Are you looking for, do you look for certain qualifications, or any kid who comes and knocks i- is welcome, or you're already at your maximum capacity? And
Right
what do
now,
you do?
yeah, right now we are at maximum capacity with this particular facility. We are not an emergency shelter, which is a little bit different. With this new facility, we will have an emergency shelter. With this one, we're a transitional shelter. So you do have to make application, because we are a specific program. It takes about 72 hours for our case manager to review the application. And really, what that means is we want to make sure that you are a fit for the program, meaning that you have to be in school. We want you to be able to be in school, or have a full time job if you're not in school. Uh, we want you to be able to work the program, meaning that you're going to be in counseling, that you are going to be able to comply with our rules. What happens is a lot of times people come into the program thinking that there are no expectations, that you can come and go as you want, there's no curfew, there's no chores, things like that. And certainly there are expectations that, we are not a hotel that you can just come and go as you want. And, our residents do their laundry, they cook, so there are certain expectations. And so we want to be able to talk to you and sit down and make sure that hey, this is what the expectations are. So we like to have those conversations with the residents before they come into the program. And again, that's part of the life skills of moving from a 14 to 19-year-old into adulthood and preparing them for the next steps.
Um, I know you, on a personal note, that you are a black belt in karate. Do you?
Uh, no, I am a Black Belt Six Sigma, which is a processing method.
Oh, okay. So, what exactly is that?
Basically, what it is, it's a methodology for processing of components that put help. It basically it helps. I was trying to think how the best to explain it. So it's an easier way to compartmentalize and put together strategy for building businesses.
Oh, that's cool. So, I'm sure that is something that helps you um, run the shelter.
Yes, it is. It makes things a little bit easier. It kind of gives you a higher level perspective of how to run a business more economically.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, as emotional as this process could be, especially because you're working with children, um, you still have to kind of mentally step aside to be able to run this as a process so that the functionality stays intact.
Correct. We are a nonprofit. That the keyword being nonprofit, but we still have to have the funds to make sure that the kids are taken care of. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing is to make sure that all these kids' needs are met. I don't want to ever look back and say something was not met for these kids. I mean, they have come off a very bad situation. So I don't want to look back and say, no, we weren't able to purchase a pair of shoes for these kids or get something that they didn't need. So, we want to be in a position that we are financially sound to be able to provide what they need. So, while uh, we're a nonprofit, but we have to run it as a business from that perspective to make sure that we stay financially sound so these kids aren't in peril of having to, go without.
So when these kids come in, what all do you provide these kids, and what about the duration? How long do they stay in the shelter?
When the kids come to us, they pretty much come to us with whatever they have on. Sometimes they bring stuff if they're coming from another facility. Sometimes they bring stuff to us. What we quickly find, it's stuff that they may have had over the course of time. It's usually stuff, in our opinion, that probably should have already been thrown away. It's usually clothes that don't fit, that they have just kept that, yes, probably should have been thrown away long ago. Shoes that don't fit or stain stuff. But when they come to us, we usually provide them with new stuff, new clothes, new shoes. We provide sheets, pretty much everything we provide new to them. So what they come to us is a little of anything. So we provide everything new to them, sheets, beds, clothing, everything. Um, and as far as the duration, they stay there as long as they need to. Uh, they can, they can stay there until they're 19. If they come at 14, they can stay until they're 19. That's not the norm. Um, they, it just really depends on how long they work the program. Like I said, we've had people that have stayed there and been adopted. We have kids that have stayed there and then went to college or graduated from high school or returned to their families. So it really depends on the child and kind of what the end game is for them. But since we are not a emergency shelter, there is not a you have to be out on this specific date. So that's the great thing about being a transitional shelter. There's not a specific you have to be out by this time frame. So we are a little bit more flexible. We are the only one in Denton County that is a transitional shelter, so we're kind of pioneering in that respect. That we're the first one to do this, so it gives us a little bit of flexibility.
So, a lot of kids. So kids themselves, they kind of know what they want when they come to the shelter, or do you guys tell them that these are the options that you have and you can get adopted and we can put you up for adoption? Because between the ages of 14 and 19, I mean, do a lot of kids even opt for the adoption option?
Well, when they come, depending on what their situation is, they will know. If they're coming through the CPS system, some will know whether they can be adopted or they. It depends on what their situation is. Some may know they can be up for adoption. Some may know they may be able to go back to their families. It just really depends on what their situation is. Some may know when I turn 18, I'm going to go out on my own. So it just really depends on what their situation is, and they may know, they may not know. But every child, when they come to us, is a different situation. Most of them do know when they come to us. When a child comes to us, we do what's called a service plan, and we sit down with that child and plan out, okay, in the first 90 days, this is going to happen. And so we lay out a service plan with our case manager, and we work with that child all the way through, so they are very clear on what the expectations are and kind of what their plan is. And our case manager is very good on kind of sitting down and working through with them. So it's very transparent. We don't ever leave them in the dark of what our plans are and what the expectations are.
Um, Nisa, what would you like for people who are watching? What can they do to help you out or to help these children out? What would you like for them to do? We do have your website on the screen. They are able to. People should be able to contact you. What's that ideal thing that you would really love to have for it to happen? Because especially now, I know you guys were impacted drastically because of the snowstorm. You had to relocate the children and you had to get all these damages and repairs done, so that you could bring them back. I'll let you share that.
Well, yes, actually, we did our shelter flooded, and luckily, our community really responded to that, and we appreciate that. So, I guess first and foremost, what I would like to for everyone to know is this population does exist. I think that's the most important. So, just to be aware and to share that this population is out there, whether you see them or not, they are out there. They do exist. There's thousands of unaccompanied minors across the community, whether it's Flower Mound, Louisville, Plano, Frisco, they are there. And whether you see them, hear them, they are there. So if you would share that with your friends and family that they are there, that would be the number one thing. The second thing is that if you would please say a prayer that we are successful in this mission to continue to support these kids, and that our shelter grows, and that we continue to be able to serve these kids as successful as we possibly can. If you are interested in becoming a donor, we can, whether it is in kind through, we need support both financially and in kind, whether it is through working at our shelter. We have recently just opened up our shelter to volunteers. We have been closed because of COVID. We've not had volunteers in our shelter, and we recently have just reopened that. And we do have volunteer training again. So if you would like to volunteer, you certainly can do that. And it's anything from doing repairs at the shelter to working with the kids and admin. And you can go to our website and you can you can find that. But we are super excited to be doing that again. But like I said, there are so many things that you can be involved in the kids, and it is certainly heartwarming to be able to be involved in that. So, but the information is at journeytodream.com, as well as we have a development director. Her name is Samantha Sims, and she can get you as much information as you would like about that as well.
Um, on a ending note, what advice would you give to the adults in the community, and what advice would you give to children?
Um, Gosh, that's a hard question. I don't know. Um, I guess my advice to children is, gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
It's okay. Yeah.
My advice to children.
Well, I feel that what I would like to tell children who might be watching is just to tell them that they matter, and
Yeah,
that every child, every individual, everyone matters in this world. And that's why sometimes we might not understand the dynamics of how the world functions. We might not understand why life becomes so difficult, and if it's so difficult, what's the reason for this world to even exist. But if you are spiritual, if you believe in the divine power, you believe that there must be some purpose even when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I would like for everyone to believe that if they are here, they matter, their life matters.
mhm,
And I think, at the end of the day, we just keep trying to spread whatever goodness we are able to spread in this world, and keep contributing our 2 cents, or our whatever contribution we can make in any capacity whatsoever. And like one of the mottos of my show, where we say, let's just touch lives wherever we can. And I think that's what it is. If every individual in this world just believes that, hey, let's just touch even a single life, I think that right there would heal so many people.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I would echo that. That I guess what I would share with a child is that they're enough, regardless. And I would go back to our hashtag that all teams count, regardless of whatever, all teams count. So, and then I guess my message to the adults would be exactly what I said: is change a child, change a family, and you'll change the community. I
Yeah.
think I will stand on that.
Sounds perfect. Well, Nisa, I appreciate you being here. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to share your message, and wherever the word carries with the wind, or with the flow of the universe, and we spread goodness in whatever way we can. I'm going to remove you from the stream, and I'm just going to end the show.
All
uh,
right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. I really do. Thank you.
You're most welcome. So, friends, that right there was a special edition of Heart to Heart with Saima. We wanted to just spread the word, and let children know that there is a place, that there is an option they can reach out to if things become too difficult. So, thank you once again for carving the time out to hear what was shared on today's podcast. If this inspired you to take the next step in your journey, then I would invite you to join my email list by emailing vip@saimadillon.com. And of course, if you know this podcast episode might help someone else, then help me change lives. Just take 30 seconds to simply share the link to the podcast in a text or post it on social media. And I will be so grateful. So until next time, thank you for being here.